wa minasan o genki desu ka? Hey everybody, how are you? I know it's been a while, again, oops, but I wanted to pop in for an update because I'm running out of time to give you updates. I have 24 days left, not counting my day of travel back and the rest of today. Wow. We already have our departure packets, and they're already like, you know, start turning in your stuff and get ready to go, and it's really sad. We had our first, well, I had my first typhoon. It just rained a lot. We still had class. As a matter of fact, we were the only university in the area, the only school in the area that still had class, which is terrible. Like, my homestay friends, they got soaked on the way to school. It was so bad. But I have a few things to talk about this time around. The first one I've been waiting to talk about because it amuses me so. So I recently noticed that some of the car names have been really weird. So I actually started looking at what the cars are called here, and I noticed a lot of them have English names, but the names they chose are hilarious. So some of the ones I've seen are the Flow, the Aqua, the Zoom, and this one is my personal favorite. I kid you not, there was a car called the, T-H-E, the. But anyway, so cars have hilarious names here, and they're all really small. Aside from random fun facts about Japanese cars, I've been continuing to go to Kodo Club and Tea Ceremony Club. I can play the Kodo decently well-ish. I'm still struggling to keep up on the harder songs, especially when like the songs call for a strange technique, like picking with a different finger than the one I'm used to, things like that. And tea ceremony has been a lot of fun. I do a lot of watching the more senior students make the tea, but it does help learn. And as I found out today in my society class, that is part of passing on the traditional culture here, is you observe the practice more than you do it, and you learn by observing. But I have made tea myself twice now, and this time around, she's like, "Isn't this your first time making tea?" I was like, I think it's my second time. She's like, "You're doing really well," and I'm like, "Thank you." But it is a lot of fun. It's very ritualistic, very methodical, I guess is the best way to put it. Like, literally, if you pick something up, there is a direction you have to go. So like at one point you have to put a little piece of cloth into the bowl, and you pick it up between your body and the left hand side, and you bring it up and around, and then in the bowl. Like, usually I'm not so big on the whole like strict you have to do it this way, but I think in this case is the ritualisticness of tea ceremony that makes it the beauty that it is. It's very zen. It's very calming for me personally. I have greatly enjoyed tea ceremony, and as a matter of fact, this Sunday, I lied. This Sunday I am performing myself in a tea ceremony as someone who serves and collects tea for the guests. So that is going to be nerve-wracking one and a lot of fun too. But I'm very much looking forward to that, and it will be my first time doing anything like this. I don't know, it's nerve-wracking, but quick anecdote about this. Every tea ceremony we've taken at least part of the time to practice everybody's roles for this upcoming event. So my friend and I were practicing hostessing, I guess is the best way to call it. And when you go to the guest to receive the tea bowl back, there's a certain phrase you say. And for whatever reason, we were just like struggling to get this phrase down. So we were standing to the side, and I was making jokes like, we should just like write it right here. That way we can like see it when we're up there. And the tea ceremony sensei comes over, and she's like, what are you doing? So I was explaining, well, like in America, when we can't remember something, like the joke is like you write it on your wrist, and then like you can kind of sneak a look at it. And she's like, that's really interesting. And then she's like, that'd make a great new tattoo. And I'm like, no, no, I'm not getting that tattooed on my wrist. But it is funny. We always have a great laugh in that club. We always end up cracking up about something or another. One of the running jokes is like when you have the food or the tea, before you do anything with it, you lift it and you bow to it a little bit, like you appreciate the food. And at one point, my friend had lifted it just a little bit high. So I made the joke at her that like she threw it over her head, and the sensei caught me doing that. She comes over, she just like smacks me in the arm like, tell me. And I'm like, what could it? It's all in fun. And so now like the running joke in tea ceremony is that like when you appreciate something, you like toss it over your head. And like we explained to her, like, we understand we're not supposed to do this, we're just making jokes. It's like when we start giggling when we're serving the tea, she's like, on Sunday you have to be very serious. We're like, we know, but now we can make jokes. And she's like, okay, as long as you know on Sunday you have to be serious. It's like, I will be serious for you this time around, just to show you I can be serious. So we did it serious, but we always have a great time in that club. Speaking of interactions with people who do not speak my language, I have come so much further than I realized was possible. Like, the interactions I have now with people, I could not have imagined having when I first got here. It would have been nice to have these skills when I first got here. I would have saved myself so much strife and trouble. Like, even halfway through, I was still struggling a lot compared to where I'm at now. For instance, another friend of mine's shower broke here in the dorm, and he had no hot water. So he didn't mention anything about it, like he thought, okay, maybe it was like a thing. At one point we walked back in the dorm, and the dorm mother saw him come in. Like, this guy is tall, extremely tall. I was about to say Segata guy. And so it's very noticeable when he walks in the door, he has to duck. So they see him come in, and they're like, mate kudasai, and they come running out, and they're like, your shower's broken. Anato no shower wa samui desu. And he's like, yeah. And then at this point, he gets lost in the conversation. I'm like, I can do this. So I step up and I have this conversation with this woman, and she's like, well, is his shower broken? I'm like, yeah, I know his shower's been broken. He complains to me about it all the time, which is fine. Cold showers suck. And she's like, okay, well, is his room this number? I'm like, yes. So she writes down a number on a piece of paper, and she says something about a shower and this room, and I'm trying to express, like, so you want him to shower in this room? And she's like, yeah. And then he of course has to ask, like, when is it going to be fixed? And I have no way to communicate this. And I'm like, so she's like, chotomate. And she goes and gets one of the more senior students, one of the French students, as a matter of fact, to come and translate the English and Japanese. But otherwise, I had this interaction with this woman who does not speak much English at all, actually. But I have interactions with people all the time, and it's okay. Like, I went to the bank today to close my account, and the interaction I had, I never would have been able to do in my wildest dreams when I first got here. But the amount of kanji I can read now, like, I can read decent Japanese. I can write and read in very, very basic kanji. And just the amount I can speak without even realizing it, it blows me away. And my English definitely suffering, but I tried to speak Spanish the other day, which I'm very used to doing before I came here. Like, I just throw Spanish in wherever. And I tried to speak Spanish, and I had no Spanish at all. Like, I was like, and like the only thing coming to mind is Japanese. So I might have to refresh my Spanish at some point, but at this point, I am mighty happy with my Japanese level, and I shall continue attempt to learn when I get back. I was making jokes at my friends the other day, like, oh, quick reminder. Well, I reminded myself. So, quick thing. For anyone who uses the Duolingo app, Japanese is out, just so you know. So I have been using Duolingo, and I was making jokes with my friend the other day. I'm like, I'm gonna have to set my phone on Duolingo to Japanese and start taking the English course. I can't speak English anymore. So I forget, like, prepositions and stuff all the time. The Duolingo asked me to translate this sentence from Japanese to English. And, like, I ride bus to airport. I ride a bus to the airport. And I'm like, wow, where is my English going? So I figure when I get back, I'm going to need someone to carefully proofread my papers for my senior year so I don't look like a complete idiot. But hopefully my professors will be understanding. One can hope, right? Another big event that we just had, we had Yukata Day here at school. And I was told that we were on the local news, so I might try and find that. If I can find it, I'll post a link to it in the box below. But we all dressed up in yukatas, and it was great. We were celebrating Tanabata, which is like a summer festival, and you hang wishes on bamboo and whatnot. But it was really cool to see so many people in traditional Japanese wear. Although I would say probably more international students participated than Japanese students, which I suppose is perfectly normal for this kind of thing. But we all had a lot of fun, and they gave us ice cream and popcorn and stuff. It was just awesome. I loved the excuse to be able to wear my yukata and not look ridiculous. And I definitely will wear it again. Although wearing it, I will tell you, is an art all in itself. Like, there's such specific folds and ties, and I will figure it out because I love my yukata. But it is something else. And the shoes are a little uncomfortable. I mean, they're wooden, and they're meant to be slightly smaller than your feet, which doesn't bode well with most Americans, including me. But it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be either. So Japan really feels like home for me now. Like, I feel like I'm settling, actually settling just in time to leave again. Like, I just kind of have a routine. Every night I go for a walk, just wherever the wind carries me that night. I usually go out with a good friend of mine, and we just go and wander the streets and do whatever and see the nightlife and see the people. And God, have we seen some strange things. Like, not like weird strange, like drunk people. And it's just, every night there's something new. And, you know, I go to school during the day and I run errands, and there's so much to see. And it's like, I feel like I'm only starting to see the multitude of things that I've been seeing every day. It's like, I found a bar that I want to visit. It's called the Chocolate Bar, which just sounds amazing. And it's kind of in an izakaya style. So you pay a flat price and you drink and eat as much as you want, which sounds amazing. So I'm hoping to make it to an izakaya, that particular one, maybe among others. And we're starting to all make, like, final plans. Like, we're all going to get together and try to go to an izakaya. We're planning the beach trip. It's like, oh, we're running out of time. So, as I said, I'm running short on days. I have basically a month separating me from returning home. I have 3 papers, a presentation, and 3 finals separating me from being done. I'm not looking forward to it, especially because I've been slightly procrastinating. A lot procrastinating. Like, I've got so much to do, but it bothers me on principle to be spending the time I have left here in Japan on, like, projects and stuff. So yeah, that's my personal thing. I did start one of my papers, my linguistical paper. I think the hardest part about that was deciding what I want to do, because, like, I wanted to do a case particle, but I would feel bad rewriting basically all the stuff he gave us. So I gotta figure out how to put my own twist on that. And then the 3 finals, one of them being kanji, which, gee whiz, you guys. We have learned, by the end of this course, we will have learned 160 kanji. Most of those kanji having at least 2 readings. Many 3. I don't know how people do it. like a lot of Japanese people here will complain about kanji just as fast as American students, international students. So my friend and I had gone down to Dejima, which is a historical reconstruction of the island the Dutch settled on here in Nagasaki when the Tokugawa period was in place, and that was the only place foreigners were allowed at all, and they weren't allowed off the island. So they're reconstructing it, and they have a bunch of stuff in it, like more like a museum. And then there's one area where it's like an activity area, so you can sit down and write with a quill. I did it earlier in the year with another friend. So another friend hadn't gone, so I went with him, and we sat down at the quill table. And you know, when you're sitting there with a quill and ink in your hand, you all of a sudden can't remember anything at all that would make sense to write. So he's sitting there like writing basic kanji, and the lady came over and she's like, "Oh, you know kanji?" And we're like, "Chotto." And she's like, "Oh," and she's just watching him write kanji, and she's like, "Oh, no, not like that." We're like, "Oh, that's good," like that kind of thing. And she starts like saying, "Japanese is so weird." And this lady is Japanese. She's like, "Japanese is so weird. It's so hard." And she's like, "I mean, you have the word hashi, that could mean chopsticks, or it could mean bridge, and you have no clue which. Or like ame, that could mean candy, that could mean rain. Who knows?" And she's not wrong, but it's like, well, yeah, but English is similar. I mean, you can be writing, you can be right. You can go the direction right, you can go the direction left, or you could have left something behind. So it's not like it doesn't exist in other languages. It's just, I think kanji is what freaks people out about Japanese. And don't get me wrong, it is hard, but it's learnable. And it's so much easier when you know the spoken language, guys. It makes so much more sense, I promise. I'm gonna miss speaking Japanese. Like, that's probably one of the biggest things for me going home. It's like, I'm going to go from speaking at least half as much Japanese as I do English to only English again. Although I will take a perk out of that. When I go home, I can pretty much assume people speak English. Like here, someone holds the door and I have no idea what language to thank them in. Yeah, me. Because people speak Japanese and look kind of English, or look kind of English and speak French. Look French, speak Japanese. Thanks. That will be nice to return to. Also, we had kind of a strange thing happen in class today. So, as I said in an earlier video, in Japan, you don't say bless you when somebody sneezes, so we've all gotten the habit of not saying it. And this morning in my Japanese class, someone sneezed, and the whole class said bless you. And we were all like, what? Where did that come from? So that was that. Otherwise, things have been pretty normal. I think it's gotten to the point where I'm completely over the fact that I live somewhere new. Like, it's still great, it's still beautiful, I still appreciate it, but it's like, there's only so much I can tell you about how great it is without you being able to experience it yourself. Japan is, I think traveling itself, in and of itself, the idea of travel and like how it affects your mind is completely inexplicable to someone who has not experienced it in some way, shape, or form. For example, moving from New Jersey to North Carolina, like that's travel, and that's experiencing something new, and it's getting to a new place, but it is nowhere near like a completely different culture. So I don't know. I guess what comes of this is like, travel, you guys. There's so much in this world for all of us to see. One of my best friends just went abroad today, and I'm so excited to see what he has to say when he gets back. But pray for his safety. Pray for all of our safety. The typhoon did cause massive flooding and damage in both Tokyo and Fukuoka. Many of the ryogakse foreign students in Tokyo were evacuated back to the US permanently because of damage and flooding. Pray for their safety and everyone who is remaining in the city. And one of my friends' host mom thinks there might be another typhoon, but I don't know. Cicadas have started, so the rainy season is just about over, which is gonna be so wonderful. And please pray this humidity lets up. Like, this is insane, y'all. Like, I have experienced humidity. This is insane. Like, I cannot walk outside without sweating. And they don't have air conditioning. And people are walking around in long sleeves and pants, and like, it's in style to be pale here. So ladies are wearing like gloves that are like up to here, and I'm like, how are you not overheating? And I can't mentally process that one. But yeah, that's my life. As usual, questions, comments, throw them below, hit me up. I'm running out of time. If you want souvenirs, you gotta let me know. And I love you all. Bye.